No, you got everybody's name there.
We do have Jacqueline, the new lady, our new colleague on the board joining.
She's not here.
But yeah, we'll see. I told her to call if there's tech issues.
Okay, well, maybe we'll just wait a minute and see if Jackie comes on. How's that?
Near 4 o'clock time.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The other just moved.
I know.
I didn't,
Yeah.
I forgot I got here at 3 o'clock.
Oh, no, no, no.
So we got a nice chat,
First
all of it. That wouldn't be, who's Tessa?
Yes, it's our marketing.
Oh, yeah.
So Aaron, we are looking out for a Jacqueline Haliburton, if she's in the room at any point.
Yep, I'll keep an eye out for her.
2, 3, 4. Yeah.
I'm just gonna pause streaming, Chris.
We have a quorum now. Jackie creates our quorum, so we're good to go. I'm going to read the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the county of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20, Mississauga territory, and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nation, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog, Highland, Osalei, and Georgina Island First Nation. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Thank you. Now, who's going to introduce Jackie?
So that's me.
All right.
I'd like to welcome you, Jacqueline, to our board, which is actually I think 5 of us out of 9 today. We had some
Can I
regrets.
just stop you for one
Sure.
sec? Jacqueline, would you like to be referred to as Jacqueline or Jackie?
Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted, I think.
That's such a classic thing, with Zoom. Yeah, Jackie's fine. I answer to both.
All
But,
right.
but people inevitably shorten it to Jackie anyway, so we can just start out that way, as long as you spell it with a Q and not a K.
Yeah.
All right, we will.
Well, promise.
So I was able to meet Jacqueline last week and learned that she's not just an artist, but she's also a librarian. So we're lucky to have your expertise on the board. And Jacqueline had an interest in special libraries in her career, but also became a consultant for the better part of it. And when I asked her about her experience with public libraries, she said, "Oh, I'm not too much experience, but I did do the work on the strategic plan for Timmins Public Library, which I think is great experience to have with working with public libraries." So welcome. Would you like to say anything for the record?
Well, I'm delighted to be part of the group, and I'm new as I mean, not only to the public library board, but to boards as a whole. I've always been on the other side, reporting to a board. So I would ask for some patience, but I'll do the best I can.
Thank you. We're pleased to have you. And while I'm on to introductions, I just wanted to reintroduce the idea that we have our board tour next week on the 22nd. We're going to meet here at 8:30. Probably will take till 4:30, and we'll be back again here. And then on the Friday is our quarterly policy committee meeting, 10 a.m. on the 23rd. And we'll be sending out documentation with about 10 policies on that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Chris. Welcome, Jackie, and anybody else want to say anything during the welcome introduction part? Being none, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. May I have someone to move and second the agenda, please? Moved by Jennifer, second by Walt. Anybody opposed? Carried.
And you're gonna write that down on the agenda?
Thank you for reminding me. My favorite taskmaster in the whole world.
Sorry.
Jennifer and Walt. Okay. Thank you very much. Next item is any declarations of conflicts of interest? Being none, we'll move on. The consent agenda. Consists of the adoption of the draft minutes from our chief librarian's report and the circulation statistics. So let's start with the, we need a motion to adopt the minutes of May 10th, 2023. Any questions on the minutes of May 10th? Seeing none, could I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Moved by Jennifer, second by, how about one of you guys in the media alley there? Lisa, thank you very much. Second by Lisa. All in favor? Motion carried. Anybody have anything else on the consent agenda? Okay, no, I should have just said, we approved consent agenda, right? Not.
Yeah.
All right, we'll just say that Jen did the first and moved by second by Lisa for the consent agenda.
Just perhaps
I
for,
was a little fuzzy because of this whole thing.
for interest for Jackie, we didn't always batch together the consent agenda. We used to have a motion for accepting each of the documents, and then it was just proposed that we would put it all together, and it just makes sense for flow. But we do keep the financial reports separate.
Okay, thank you very much. So consent agenda has been moved and seconded and carried. The next item is the financial report. Chris, you going to take us through that?
Sure. So thanks, David. I mean, at this point in the year, it's always a good time to sort of reassess where we are in terms of each budget line. So I have been looking them over for the last few weeks because we're approaching the halfway point in the fiscal year. So it's a good measure for where, we should be. And in most every case, we're underspent in a few areas and we're on track in most. A few large bills do go out at this time of year. Namely, I think today we paid the web site maintenance fees. So that will show up. Everything's delayed a little bit with the Questica software. So it's about a week or two behind. And then there are a few items that got coded incorrectly by, like there's more hands in the pie than just Melanie and I. County office also tracks some of our invoices that come in. And so I just have some housekeeping to make sure that certain items are where they should be. But for the most part, the numbers look very good. Although we did get provincial funding for 2 summer students, we actually didn't find a summer student. We had 3 applications. We chose one person and eventually they turned us down. So last minute, that was a bit crushing for Hillary and all for really the office staff and the library in general. But in any case, we are making up for it in user charges, which are quickly adding up since we added pay for printing services once again after the pandemic. And also the donations or contributions from others have been higher at this point than last year, mainly because the Friends have been earning a lot through their book sales, and then also been quite generous in purchasing virtually everything we've asked for this season. Apart from that, I can answer any questions that people have about any budgetary matters.
Good. Any questions concerning the budget? Okay, seeing that, I'll ask for a motion, please. Move and second the financial report. Moved by Jennifer. Seconded by Will. All in favor? Carried. Okay. All right, we'll move on to business arising from the minutes. I don't think there is any business items either. No, I didn't see any.
No, I mean, everything that got proposed in between last meeting and now, it's generally becomes new business. So,
okay. All right, so we're going to consider under new business, we're going to consider a revenue fund purchase air purifiers for our branches without a built-in air cleaner, which would be all the ones other than Wilberforce, Isart, and Minden, I think, right?
right. So just for context, the discussion for air purifiers in the library buildings came up in the pandemic. We learned that Wilberforce and Minden and Isart have built-in HVAC systems. because of the age of the building. They're newer buildings. The other branches, such as like Cardiff or Highland Grove, these are older buildings, and there isn't that same airflow beyond fans that we use. So when the fire smoke from last week was in the neighborhoods, we definitely were mindful about how this could be, a future occurrence on and off again. And we returned to the idea of the purifiers. At the time, we didn't have a lot of knowledge about the devices. Aaron did some preliminary research. We actually picked one and were able to fund it with safe restart money through the pandemic. That's because we were returning to the office and we had more people in the room than was initially comfortable. And so we got one from Fellows, and it's got 2 HEPA filters, a carbon filter and a regular filter. And so we've been able to try these out, and we know they work really well. So what we're proposing is to use reserve funds. I did look into safe restart money. It's not available anymore. Of course, we always look for funding sources when possible. Obviously, one of the cons is the price. Hi, Cease, welcome.
Oh, it's very good.
The cost of the air purifier.
Apologize for being late.
Oh, it's totally fine. Glad you could be here. The standalone air purifiers plug into the wall. They lock so children can't play with them. They can be moved around the room. They're identical in shape and size to the one that we already have. So the greatest advantage is that if we buy things in bulk, we would just have a set of these 3 types of filters. And then you don't have different companies, and different branches have different ones, and we got to remember which. So we've learned the hard way with technology to keep it consistent. So all told, the cost for these items are $1,979 each, and so we would be purchasing 3 of those for the smaller branches. But again, we don't have budget funding for that because this year, because it came up halfway through the year. It's a consideration for future. I don't know how long they last. I've had dehumidifiers for 10 years, and I assume that it's probably similar, constant fan. But so what we would be asking is to use some of the reserve funds to make this purchase possible.
Do you need a motion to that effect?
Well, we sort of wanted, if there were questions or feedback, and then, yeah, we would choose.
Any questions on this purchase? Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Jackie, go ahead.
Yeah. With these, I'm not familiar with these machines, but do they require replacement of filters regularly or
Sure.
Yeah.
Great question. So there's one filter inside that's a 2-year filter, and then I believe it's either HEPA. HEPA is a 6-month filter. So there are ongoing costs, but we found that we can buy them from the same supplier, which is Staples, and you buy them in bulk boxes, which are it's more economical in the long run. But yeah, it's just like the water filter in our coolers in the library branch here in Dysart. There's a fee that you plan for every year. So that would come out of our office budget for the future years.
So
Okay.
how do you know the things are working? Like if you say it's working well, but how can you tell?
Yeah.
that it's
So
working?
the smoke when you open the door comes into the building, and for example, on the one day when it was really bad, you'd smell it in the library, and then the HVAC system kicks on. So that's the built-in one, and it sucks it out. It ports it out of the building, and if it's not keeping up, we also have a manual switch. So when our garbage is left in the furnace room, for example, and it starts to smell, we can flip that on and it sucks it out. This purifier works similarly. It purifies the air in a small space. So it's measured for the size of the room, and we know that it works for the office because we never smelled smoke at all, even when we open the door. And then it's also, because it's got the 2 types of filters, it was also rated for 99% of COVID viruses as well. So that's why initially we invested in that. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. We could have air professionally check, but I think at the end of the day, it's the smell test that works for us.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Any other questions? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for this motion, please? Moved by Jackie with a Q. And seconded by Jennifer. Done.
Okay. Thank you.
All in favor, carried.
So just to be clear, that's the motion so that we can access reserve funds to
There you
make a
go.
payment. So
Yeah.
thank you.
I didn't put the amount in the motion, but you said it, so I only got it done. Next item is initiating a use of space conversion conversation. That's today. Jeez. Future library service at the Dorset Rec Center.
Do you want me to do a little
That'd
background
be okay.
intro? So, I'm from Algonquin Highlands. As you know, our big metropolitan area in Algonquin Highlands is Dorset, which we share with Lake of Bays, and which has one traffic light, which we also share with Lake of Bays, but it is our big metropolitan center.
The capital.
That's right. So we've got a recreation center there, which used to house a library service.
Yeah.
Small but sturdy and wonderful, and it was staffed on a decreasing basis over a number of years. And at the end of the term before last, or at the very beginning, I should say, of the last term, it was decided to cease library services there. There weren't enough people going in the hour that it was open. The business case was not strong enough for the board and the township to keep it open. And it was decided that the use of that space, which was closed for the vast majority of the week, and yet is a public space meant for everyone to use, should be dedicated to something that would be open and available for people to use. So that was the decision that was made. Fast forward a number of years, we have gone through COVID. So the building was shut down. During COVID, we went through the same considerations as we've just discussed, which is air quality and HVAC and purification and all of these things. We knew that we needed to upgrade those systems because of COVID, and we've got a gym and squash courts in there. We knew that we needed to make sure that we were keeping people safe. So we did a study. We got ourselves set up with some ideas for a new air purification system. And in the process of that, realized there was mold in our building, and not just a little mold. There was a lot of mold in our building. So we did an initial study on the mold. Thought we had localized it. Thought we had remediated the problem. Did a further study to confirm, and no, we had not remediated the problem. And the problem was considerably deeper than we had expected. It also, according to folks who know building construction far better than I do, the origin of the problem could have been at the design phase of the building, which is 50 or 60 years ago now, and with the thermal envelope and how moisture is kept inside the building. Which means a lot of money to required to remediate. And the council decided at that time, for the sake of speed, we would not tear down the building and cut and go through a whole public redesign and tendering and blah, 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 that it was such an essential resource for a community that we just wanted to get the space up and running again as quickly as possible. And since then, we have been obviously through staff guidance, we have been working on doing just that, getting the building back up and ready to go. We are now at a moment in time where hopefully we are about to sign the tender to have the remediation work done, which means, if I understand correctly, pulling down interior walls, not structural walls, not load bearing, but basically stripping it from the inside, redoing whatever has to be redone to keep it a healthier space, putting those walls back together, putting in the new vent system, et cetera, et cetera. And that work is going to begin hopefully very soon. Council did decide to not change the physical layout of the space, again, for the sake of speed. So we're not looking at shifting this wall 6 feet that way and opening up that space and redesigning the traffic flow. But this is an opportune moment to think about what we use the space for, the space that we've got, the rooms that we have. Are we using all the spaces optimally? Are there things that we could be doing differently with those spaces? And as you all know very well, COVID has really jump-started how library services are delivered. It's now so different. There's new technology, there's new systems involved, there's new interactions, interfaces.
Board meetings.
How the board meets, lots has changed. And so it does beg the question, should we, before we get too far down the road with our use of space conversation at the Dorset Recreation Center, should we be thinking about bringing some form of library services back? And you probably wouldn't be, I say probably, we are the board, so I don't get to say probably, but in my mind, it wouldn't necessarily be a full service as it used to be, with a librarian there 9 to 5, opening the door, letting people in, putting the books back on the shelves. There is so much innovation there now in the library world. Is the central question today that Chris and I bring is, would the board be interested in exploring whether some avant-garde, interesting, cool comeback story might be possible for Dorset using some of these amazing systems and technologies that we've got? And what I'm curious about for today is almost a yay or a nay on exploring the idea in principle. So it's not a commitment. It's if nothing else, it is a twofold thing of A, telling me that I can go back to Algonquin Highlands Council and say, there is a curiosity here. Are you willing to dance this dance with us?
Mm-hmm.
And B, it would allow any staff instruction to, to proceed should there be any interest to do so, to do any further research or bring back recommendations. This could be sort of the key piece to starting that process from happening, or starting that process for happening. So that is the question of the day, is the board curious to have that conversation to the extent that you would enable me to go to my council and say, we want to dance this dance?
Jen, I think that's first of all, a great presentation. Thank you. You are a great presenter, very succinct, and I understood completely what's going on there. I think your idea is phenomenal.
Okay.
I mean, can imagine if we could create a kind of the most unique, state-of-the-art, 22nd century library there, whatever it would be. I think it's great. Any comments on Jennifer's suggestion that we give the go-ahead to join forces with the county, with the municipality? Chris, you had your hand up.
I think, I share the enthusiasm, and I believe that there are ways in which you can bring library service, as we're going to show with the new van that's coming. Incidentally, it was just hitting the factory line this past Monday. So we hope to hear about the van being shipped soon. But, there's ways in which we can do pop-up service. We could have a technology table where we would meet people and make appointments or show up at times when people meet us. We have been receiving calls even this week about, oh, hey, when can I stop by the library, assuming that there was a library in Dorset. So there are people, new customers always around the corner. Your area has grown. I know that because my own family members have invested in property up there. And, there's no reason why every lower tier municipality shouldn't have access to the same types of services. We just need a place to do it. And initially it was going to be lockers with, stuff happening in the parks with the van. But I imagine a world where we have like almost like an airport kiosk where we could in the morning roll the shelves out and kind of assert ourselves in the space and then have that table or the technology that is on the wall that swings out, or, you know, there's many things that we could plan for. And again, right now it's just a preliminary exploration. So,
You know, I was telling, any other comments? Or I blab again? I was telling Chris before the meeting, we happened to start talking about this, not just this, a bunch of stuff that came up. When I was the CAO of Mississauga, we got together with the school board, and when they built the school, we built a community center right beside it and always put a library in the community center.
Mhm.
So they used the pool during the day for their phys ed classes in our community center, and we used it at night, and we shared all of that space. And it was a really unique thing because traditionally school boards and municipalities never talked to each other.
Mhm.
We made it happen, and it became people from all over the world came to see it and look at it. So this could be the same thing for Dorset. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you need a motion or just a yay?
I think that a yay would be like the support of the board here, or would you prefer a motion?
No. I think I'm happy with whatever the chair and yourself would like to do. I wonder if you wouldn't mind giving a little bit of a sense of, should this prove to be a great idea, what sort of funding resources there are, and, you know, what about reserves? What about, you know,
Mhm.
are there grant opportunities out there? Like what should we think is actually?
So great question. I mean, obviously we haven't explored any grant possibilities, but there are some government situations that have changed. Like I know Canada Summer Jobs, like there are libraries that got funding for 20 and 25 years that suddenly are realizing they're not getting funding anymore. But for space, like I can look into that. From the perspective of the library, we're in good shape. This is a part of the conversation I updated Jackie on. This is the first library I've been a part of that has substantial reserves, and it's because of COVID and because of savings that built up when there were people on leave or there was no CEO for a short time. And so we do have, you know, to fill the space with, you know, shelves and books and all the things that libraries bring to municipal space are you know, I think we could swing that in the future. So like on our end, like we would be able to do that. And we're also well positioned now that we have new staff members who actually live closer to your area or in your area, you know, to talk about staffing as well. So I'm not concerned about that. It would just really be knowing that there's a place for us in the plans. And then if they need help with design or talk about what the space could look like, you know, we could talk to the council. And
So there's your go ahead. We're very eager to have exploratory discussions
Great.
with the town.
Thank you.
All right, great. That's a great idea. Now, that brings us to Tessa. Tessa, you on the line?
Here.
You are. Going to turn it over,
Hi.
give us a presentation. Good to see you.
Okay. Yeah. This.
so just as an introduction, Tessa is our marketing and communications coordinator. And we've been featuring a new, or not a new, each department within the library, a short presentation each month this year so far. Take it away, Tessa.
Okay. Yes. So I'm Tessa Isles and I'm marketing and communications coordinator. I've been at HCPL for just about 7 years now. But this role is brand new. My first day was in this role was actually June 6th, 2022. So it's just been a year. I am the only office staff member whose role is not a full-time position. I work 4 days a week in this role, and then I spend 1 day a week as branch staff. And I've actually worked in all 7 branches of the library. So here are some of my responsibilities. I've been responsible for creating and maintaining our new brand standards, which happened when we went through a rebrand that was last year. And that involves updating and developing new promotional materials. I'm very lucky that the actual marketing of the library is pretty easy because all my coworkers are so good at their jobs. So we have great programs and they, you know, sell themselves a little bit. So that's awesome. And a great collection and everything. I also work on internal things like staff documents, book lists, and I provide the branch staff with tools to create displays. Right now in the branches, you might see displays for Indigenous History Month or Pride displays. I do the circulation of items related to the Dorset Depot, which we were just talking about. I am the library's contact for CELA, which is the Center for Equitable Library Access. So that's just a special service that's available for anyone with a print disability. And I also circulate some of the other special collection items like interlibrary loans, book club sets, and magazines. So here are just some of the ways that I promote the library services. We do monthly printed calendars, program posters, and brochures, manage the library social media accounts. We have monthly email newsletters for different book genres that I do. There's a monthly news and events newsletter, and I submit events to other organizations. Erin, who is our tech and systems coordinator, she does most of the website stuff, but I do occasionally write some of the content for it or provide her with images to use for the website and the events calendar. I submit events monthly to the Highlander, and I submit Book of the Week picks to the Minden Times. And I write and record library talks along with Cheryl Sherwood, who was our collection development coordinator for Canoe FM. So you might have heard us on the radio before. And then we send out various announcements and stuff to the radio stations. And so those are just some screenshots of some of the various things I just mentioned. So here are some highlights from, just gonna get the latest point out, from some of the things I've been working on updating over this past year. So along the top, you'll see all the older print materials and advertisements and stuff. And you'll notice that a lot of it has an inconsistent look. They have some smaller fonts or some trickier fonts. And there's just no real consistent branding. We're occasionally using two different logos in different spots. So on the bottom, you have the new stuff. A big thing is to use larger, consistent font sizes that are readable. We try to use icons where possible because that makes things more accessible to a broader range of people, and it's easier at a glance to see what something's trying to tell you. We stick to the same color palette. And another big goal has been to create documents that have a bit more longevity by removing information that's going to become quickly dated. Like we try to avoid having our branch hours like everywhere. There's like specific documents that have them, but not in every brochure, so that we don't have to update every single thing if a branch changes its hours. Yeah. And so moving forward, I have performed a off-season marketing survey in the wintertime, and I intend to do another one when we're at our busiest in the summertime. And I'll use that to get some data from program attendees and people in the library and see what's working. And I'll use that to help create the marketing plan and as well the strategic plan to help shape the marketing plan. And the last thing is that I want to keep working on creating a accessible and inclusive environment in the libraries. And that means, clear signage, all the things I was talking about, making things simple, avoiding complicated language. We want people to feel welcome and like they can understand and move around the library spaces easily. We want everybody to feel welcome. That's the whole presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
So are you the one that goes on the radio every once in a while and talks about new books and tells us the story?
Yeah, that's me.
Love listening to that. It's fascinating.
Yeah, thank you.
You actually read them all before you talk about them?
No.
I was going to say you're a great reader. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
excited very much. Chris?
I just wanted to add that, when we were just talking about reserve funds and the money that, we asked for last year, to move forward this year, Tess is helping to spend that. She's created, brand new banners that we can take to offsite events that pop up. There's new signage, that's starting to roll out in the branches so that you walk in and the look and feel is very similar from branch to branch, which has never happened, before at the library. And you'll start to see that even if you were to come to Dysart. There's also pens that we have in the summer reading club that all of these things, nothing gets passed by decision making, even my own decision making around purchasing without Tessa's input. And I also have to say that Tess is excellent for last minute edit jobs before things go out, because it's always important, you know, in a professional organization to have more than one set of eyes look at things. So I can't tell you enough how much of a difference this new role, which we fought hard for, has made in just 1 year for me. Because previously, Andrea, myself, we were always having to create this sort of off the side of our desks, and we're not. It's not that we don't have a professional insight on it, but we don't have the time to ensure that the brand standards are maintained, and you know that intricate details about what people see and notice about the library are consistent. So that's because of Tessa.
Tess, are you related to that famous author Greg Isles?
No,
No.
but
He's
it's a
one-
rare last name.
I know, he's one of my favorite authors. Very good.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, I have a
I
motion.
just want to say that I'm very impressed, and I really like the fresh look, and I'm just thrilled. Thanks.
I did update Jackie when we met Friday about how we consider our website really like a ninth branch, because there is so much to be discovered in the website, and it's like the go-to place, which many people don't know that behind the scenes, because of Aaron and because of our relationships with BiblioCommons and other library organizations, there's a lot going on that site. It looks simple and fresh, but it's a very complex website.
It is very much. Thank you. I'm sorry for coughing, folks. My allergies are crazy. I have a motion, be it resolved that the Haliburton County Public Library Board receives for information purposes the 2023 marketing and communication coordinator presentation. Have a mover, please. Walt, seconded by, please. Okay, she's. That brings us to municipal update roundtable. Do any of the municipal reps here have any comments about the library? Okay, none. Seeing none, thank you very much. The next meeting date will be September 13th, 2023. We are now on summer recess officially.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
Chris and his gang will be taking vacations. I know somebody's going to Wawa and somebody's going out west. So enjoy yourselves. Now it's time to do it when all these crazy board members are gone away and you can have some fun. The rest of you take a deep breath and have extra long coffee breaks and enjoy yourself. Could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please? Lisa, thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned.